Week 1 of my 10K training plan done, and it was quite a hard first week. The training plan included some easier sessions, sort of running in zones 1 and 2, recovery runs, and then also 2 sessions where I did 3 times 8 minutes. In fact, in the first one I did 2 times 8 minutes and a 4-minute interval, as I couldn't complete the final 8-minute interval as I was really struggling. What was interesting about the first interval session that I did was I was trying to run to the power in power zones 5 to 6, and heart rate and pace were both in those type of zones, especially the heart rate, but I really struggled. I couldn't get into those higher zones. I couldn't produce the power output. Now, I'm not sure whether that was down to the fact that when I did my initial test to set the various zone levels, I'd had a week and a half's rest after my last race, so I was feeling fresher, so I was able to produce more power, or just the fatigue from all the training which I'm doing made it a little bit harder. The second set of 3 times 8, I got a lot closer and spent more time in the upper zones, so it's quite interesting running with power. If I'd been running purely based on heart rate, I would have thought I achieved what I was trying to achieve, whereas looking at the power data, I wasn't at the intensity or producing the power output which I thought I should be, and that gave a different level of understanding which I've never really had before, only ever looking at, say, pace and perceived effort when you're running, and also the heart rate data. By looking at the power data as well as another independent variable to consider, it's quite interesting to see how I wasn't able to produce that higher power output, especially on the first run. So it's going to be interesting tracking that over the next couple of weeks to see if I'm able to get to those zones. And when I do the second test to determine what the threshold in the various zones should be, whether that'll actually increase or decrease as I'm more fatigued. The other thing about the 10K plan, which is very different from what I've done before, is just the amount of time that I'm spending with my heart rate up in zone 6 and 7, really pushing it higher intensity efforts. And although I was used to doing, say, 20-25 minute intervals when I was training for the ultra marathons, I haven't done those 8-minute high intensity efforts for probably a good 6 to 8 months when I was doing them early in the year, but that was my speed work before increasing it, and I wasn't pushing as hard then, and I was actually pushing a lot harder than I would have done normally because of the power meter, because I could see my power data wasn't high enough. The other difference with running with the power meter is that you get instant feedback, and what I did was actually change it to take a 3-second average on my watch, just a rolling 3-second average, because having the live data coming through, it jumps around so much. With the heart rate, and when I compare it in training peaks and analyse the run afterwards, there's always a lag getting your heart rate up into the zone that you're meant to be training at. With the power, that data just spikes instantly, because as soon as you increase your cadence or you just start running faster, you'll get that response from the power meter. So far, training with the power meter has been quite insightful. I think I need to get another couple of weeks data at least before I can determine how much value it is to me, but what I've seen so far, it's been really good. Some of the key differences, as I kind of touched on, are the fact that you get the instant data coming back rather than the lag which you get with the heart rate, and also the fact that with the power, when my heart rate was in the zone it should have been training, or I maybe even pushed harder, the power data wasn't there. So if I'd been training purely to heart rate, I would have gone slower during those 8-minute intervals, whereas with the power data I actually was pushing harder, and I was using that as an external motivator to push me to dig a bit deeper, whereas with the perceived effort heart rate data, I would have eased off a bit to try and maintain around 170 heart rate. Power meter was making me push a bit harder. Have you used a power meter? I'd love to hear how you've got on with it and your thoughts about it. What functions did you use? Please leave a comment down below, and I'll see you next time.